So this technique will help you to move around your audio or MIDI not only faster, but more accurately inside of Logic. So it's a three-step process, and the steps are super easy. The first one involves going up to your display. This down arrow you're going to hit, you're going to switch this to custom. The reason we're putting this on custom is because now the division will always be displayed, and that division is how far you're actually going to be nudging when you nudge any piece of audio or MIDI in Logic. And the nudge is Option and your arrow keys, left and right arrow keys to move. Second thing we're going to do is we're actually going to set it so that the nudge is looking for the divisions. To do that, we're going to go up to Edit, Move, and then Set Nudge Value to. And you'll notice that if you've tried to do this before and you notice that the nudge keys didn't appear to work, probably the default was set to something like ticks, which are so small you won't see anything moving unless you're zoomed way in. As we set this to divisions, now what will happen is when I hold down Option and move my arrow keys, it has to move by whatever value this is set to. Now the third thing we're going to do is we're going to actually make it so we don't have to keep going up to this display and changing this by hand. We're going to hit Option K, which will take us into our hotkeys. And if we type in division, you'll notice here we've got these two controls, Set Next Higher and Set Next Lower Division. And here you can see I've got them mapped to F11 and F12. This allows me to set higher and lower grid values, so the amount I'm actually moving by can be very, very small or very, very large. This is incredible when you're doing things like drums, because now instead of sort of eyeballing it, you're moving a hi-hat by a little and then a little and then a little, you can move it by a 64th note, or so you can move it by tiny values or larger values, and if you move too much, you can cut that value in half by just making the division smaller. So I move it by a 16th, that doesn't work. I move it by 32nd, that doesn't work, 64th. So now it's predictable how much you're moving things, which makes it easy to repeat what you did with other things. So again, all you're doing is changing your display, changing your nudge, and mapping your hotkeys here. Now, the one thing you want to think about that I left out is if you find that for some reason you can't map your function keys, if you go into your system preferences and keyboard, you may find that you have to turn on this use F1, F2 keys. The reason for this is the default behavior is to make your life easier, the function keys are set to things like brightness and volume. For our purposes, I'd rather just hold down the function key when I need to turn up and down my volume or my brightness on my laptop, versus when I'm working with Logic or with Photoshop or with Pro Tools or any of these other pieces of software. I prefer to have those function keys available. By ticking this box, then you can do that. Hope this helps.